Good morning. Welcome back to my kitchen, Cooking with Carol Diane. This morning, I'm going to show you how to do a simple little, what I call a weekend turkey breast. This is the turkey here, and it is a honeysuckle white young turkey. It's just the white breast meat. They've taken off the legs and the wings and everything. In this little package, mine is about 8 pounds. They give you a little sack of turkey gravy if you'd like that. I'm doing this mainly because I just want the white meat of to make sandwiches for the weekend. So I thought I would show just how simple this is going to be. I've completely washed and cleaned my turkey. I'm just kind of patting it dry with the paper towels. Now, this little turkey, this little 8-pound turkey, see, it's all kind of hollow right here inside, and that's fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up a few areas. I'm going to take a very sharp knife, and I don't need this part of it, so we're going to get rid of that. I don't need certain things that are just kind of hanging over. We're just going to cut them off. Don't need all that skin on here. Don't even need a little feather end. Don't need all that. Okay. It's looking pretty good right there. All things considering, that looks pretty good. I'm going to be filling the cavity briefly with a few little things, but the main thing I wanted to show you is I'm going to be sticking some stuff in here as far as a rub. So I think I'll just get started with the rub first of what I'm going to put together to put on the outside and the inside of my turkey. So the first thing that we're going to need is some softened butter, about 5 tablespoons. So take whatever butter that you have around. Mine kind of sat out yesterday in the heat and got a little warm. And I'll go ahead and use that also. Use a good 5 tablespoons of that. Here. And then we're going to take about a teaspoonful of minced garlic. This is very strong garlic. I like to buy it over sometimes the whole clove of a garlic because it's just fast and easy. But it is very powerful, so we'll put in just a little bit of that. And then I'm going to put in some rosemary. Now my recipe for this calls for 1.5 teaspoons, but if you know me by now, I don't measure, so I'm just gonna kind of put it in here. This is my fresh rosemary that I grow out in my greenhouse. And oh gosh, it smells so good, so good. I may do a video on that of showing you how to grow your herbs in a greenhouse, inside, wherever you have them, in the backyard, and just a little area of space. But when you get done with them, when you've picked them and you want to dry them, this is what lasts me all year long. I don't have to go to the grocery store and buy a bunch of fresh herbs because I already have them. And just to mince them up and get them prepared for a recipe is so easy. It really is. Okay, we're going to do the same now with some thyme, about, I don't know, just a little handful of thyme. And then we're going to add some parsley. Another just little handful of fresh parsley. Recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of parsley, 1 tablespoon of thyme, but as you can see, I just put it in there. And I'm going to add just a little bit of basil. Well, maybe not that much. Basil comes out and gets carried away, doesn't it? Okay, so those are my spices to begin with. We're going to mix this up. This is just a rub. It's called a rub because it's going on the outside of the skin part of the turkey, as well as I'm going to be putting it, some of it down inside the skin, underneath, I should say. The skin is what I'm saying, underneath. Beautiful Saturday morning. I went out and did all the yard work this morning. Got that done before my company comes tomorrow because I like my yard to look pretty. So I did that. So there's your rub right there. Very simple. Wasn't that simple? Now, yes, you're going to get your hands dirty, but that's the way it goes. First thing you want to do is, if it's not already where you can just pick up and put your hand down under the skin, then take your knife and gently go under there because you don't want to cut the meat. Just gently go under there because you want to put this rub way down in there. Way down in there on the, about half of it. A good half of it you want to put down in here. So I'm going to stick that way down in here. That's going to give a good flavor to this turkey. It really is. Okay, so that's that part done. Go ahead and clean my hands up just a little bit here. Make sure all that's off. And then before I put the rub on the outside, I said I want to check the turkey a little bit. What I'm going to do is kind of just move it up here a minute. And then I'm going to add some flavor to this turkey breast because I want some more flavor. On a clean cutting board now, I'm going to take some onion. This is a yellow onion. I like yellow onions, I really do. Above all the other onions of a white onion or a red onion. Because red onions are so strong for my stomach that I just kind of stick with the yellow onions, I really do. So we'll take the yellow onion now. And on this one, because I'm going in just two different cavities, I'm not going to just dice these. I'm just going to kind of cut them larger pieces because that's what I want to go in there. So there's the onion. I have a little bit of celery that I'm going to put in here. You can put most anything you want inside the cavity of chickens or turkeys. You're just giving it a lot of flavor with all these seasonings of all of this. And then I'm going to take an apple. Yeah, an apple. Because I'm going to give mine just a little bit of a sweet flavor today. Take all this out. I needed a different paper towel to put some of my stuff on here. And I can leave the skin on it or I can go ahead and take it off. Today I think I'll just go ahead and take it off. I'm not going to be eating these seasonings, so it doesn't really matter if I leave it on or take it off. But for presentation purposes, either or, whatever you want to do. And again, just kind of some chunks of this. There's one of the little seeds. Don't need that in there. And give an apple to my puppy dog who's down here bugging me. She's a sweetheart, she really is. Okay, now we're gonna go back to the turkey, and right in here is a little cavity that I'm going to start filling. It's not very big, but I don't need it very big to put the flavoring in. So just grab a handful of your onion, the apples, and the celery, and stick it all in there, very much like if you were stuffing for Thanksgiving time, but you're not. You're not stuffing for Thanksgiving time. And this, like I said, is going to give it a nice flavor, but it's also going to be where I can have it just for sandwiches. Okay, there's still some more skin here. And that's fine, it'll just flap over and that'll be nice. Now there's an underneath cavity that I could use the remainder of this on. I don't know that I will today. I just needed to fill that part of it. So now I'm gonna go and do the rest of my rub. which is this. Probably gonna pat this dry just a little bit here, because you want that rub to stick. You really do. So there's the rub. And again, you can just use your hands and get it all on the top, because that's where you want it, just kind of all over. All over this little turkey bird. It's gonna go in my 350-degree oven to start with. And after about 15 to 20 minutes after you have browned the top of the skin part of the turkey, then you need to turn your oven down to about 350, and you're going to cook this for a good hour and 15 minutes. Or if you want to use your a cooking thermometer, a meat thermometer to put in here, then it needs to be at 160 Fahrenheit. Okay, so that part's done. We can add some pepper onto this. I'm gonna sprinkle with pepper. And of course, some salt on our turkey. Okay, now I'm gonna stick it in. Like I said, this is an 8-pound turkey. I have a pan. This is my cooking pan that I'm going to put it in. And I'm going to spray that lightly. I like this one. This was just a Kroger nonstick canola oil, but I like the way it comes out. It almost fans out the way it sprays. So it does a nice covering for me, and that part I like. I really do. Okay, so now we're gonna stick the breast in here, like so. Get rid of all that. Make sure he kind of just sticks in there. My spices of the seasoning of the herbs, I can smell already. They smell really good. Then I'm going to add water to the bottom part of the pan. Probably a good, let's see, this is a 6 cup, no, it's 8 at the very top, but I'm going to go a good 2 cups in here of water on the bottom. I'm not going to put any foil or anything on here to cover it, because I want this to brown for, like I said, a good, it says 15 to 20 minutes in there, but keep your eye on it. Once it starts getting golden brown, then turn your oven down from the 450 down to 350, and then you're going to bake this for an hour and about 15 minutes, depending on your oven and depending on the turkey breast. I may stick in my thermometer to make sure. I'm very sensitive when it comes to turkey meat, so I do want to make sure that the turkey is done before I take it out of the oven. And after that, then I'm going to jump over to another video, and I'm going to make a spaghetti squash au gratin casserole. Now, I've cooked spaghetti squash for a long time, and I usually just like to cook it and put some butter on it and salt and pepper and eat it. But this is a little different recipe. And for those who have never cracked open a spaghetti squash, I grew these in my garden. And so I would like to prepare that and show you that simple little recipe. So I will jump back on after this is browned, and I've got it down to the temperature of 350 for a good hour and 15 minutes, and I'll jump back on and show you about the spaghetti casserole, or spaghetti squash casserole. Hope you're having a wonderful Saturday morning, because I know I am. I'll be right back. I'm back to show you how to prepare spaghetti squash. This is going to be a au gratin casserole, and there's kind of a couple of different steps before we get to the casserole part. But these are spaghetti squash. This is what they look like. One of them was tiny. I went and picked it anyway, but that's okay. I'm going to start with the largest one here. And like I said, this is for people that have never cooked spaghetti squash at all. I take a very sturdy, good knife. This is a hard exterior, kind of like a watermelon, only it's going to be harder inside. So you need a good sturdy knife and a sharp knife. Sometimes I use a mallet on this if it's too big, if my squash is too big, just to get it broken in two in the middle. So we're going to start with this. Actually, this one's doing just fine. And we're going to cut right down the middle. Right down the middle. Now again, I'm down here to the stem part. Knife's having a little struggle, so I would take my mallet and kind of help it along. I like to help things along. Let's see if I can. This is not for children to do by any means. Not at all. Okay, and this is the inside of a spaghetti squash. Now, it has great big seeds in it. Smaller than watermelon seeds, but they are good seeds. You certainly can save the seeds and dry them out and replant them in your yard and have more spaghetti squash. And I've done that lots of times too. But what you need to do is clean out the cavity of getting most of the seed part out. The reason why they call it spaghetti squash is because it's going to look like spaghetti. It really is. It's going to look like spaghetti pasta. And I just kind of clean that part out. Not to take a lot of the spaghetti squash part out, just enough to get all the seeds out so that it's going to look more like this now. It's all cleaned out. I usually do this by the sink, and I take it and then I just wash the whole thing. Then you're going to put it in a Pyrex pan. Do the other one right click here. Just to get those seeds out that are down in here. This particular casserole, I'm not using a very large squash, so it's going to be a smaller casserole. And it wants to take a lot of the good stuff with me this morning, and I don't want that. I want some of that to stay in there. Again, that's the spaghetti squash. It's a real fine, it's going to look like spaghetti. It really is. And what I do with mine is I take it like this. I add a little bit of water into my dish. Now, there's two ways of cooking spaghetti squash. Anybody will tell you this. There really is. There's the quick and easy way, or for years and years, I have just done mine in the oven. That you put this in the oven, very, very much just like this. Cover it with some foil, cook it for 40 minutes or 50, and that's fine too. But ever since microwaves came out, why bother with the oven? Right now, my turkey breast is in the oven, taking up most of the room in my oven. So I am going to do this in the microwave. And so I'm going to have the water in there, and then I'm just going to cover it with some nice saran wrap. And then I'm going to zap this in the microwave for a good, I don't know, 8 to 10 minutes. When, actually, I also do this. I kind of stab mine with any kind of knife, just to get it where it is going to get soft and done in the microwave. So I will jump over to my microwave. I will cook this for a good 8 to 10 minutes until I know that the outside, everything is nice and soft. And then I'll be back to prepare the casserole, and we'll see how it goes from there. So I'll be right back. I'm back. And now I'm going to show you how to prepare this spaghetti squash or gratin casserole. The squash is now been cooked and it's nice and soft. And so this is what you need to do. Now usually they're too hot where you can't even touch them. That's usually if I was fixing it for dinner, and I would take, actually I would just use a hot pad, and I would do it like this to get the insides out. But they're not, they're where they're still warm, but I can touch it. You're gonna scrape it out with any big spoon. Just gonna scrape out the inside of the spaghetti squash. It'll come right out. come right out of there. So it's still parts of it a little warm. That's okay. That's one down. And again, it looks just like spaghetti noodles when it comes out. It's very, very tasty. If you've never tried spaghetti squash, I highly recommend it. I said I usually like, just a minute, I gotta check my turkey over here. Okay. I said I cooked my turkey the 450 in the oven to brown it for a good 10 to 15 minutes, which it was. It was beautiful looking. Then I turned my oven down, and I'm gonna cook it now for an hour and 10 minutes. It still has about 23 more minutes to go, but I did put the meat thermometer in there. Still has a little ways to go. Doesn't hurt to stop and check on things while they're cooking, that's for sure. That's for sure. No show and tell today. That was yesterday that I gave you my cinnamon rolls that I told you about, my wonderful neighbor who did the crocheted skirts for my granddaughter. And I showed you the pretty apron that I made. And then the tea towels that were embroidered. And I don't have anything really to show today. I probably could tell you that, speaking of spaghetti, not that I'm making spaghetti, but this is spaghetti squash. First time my older son, I hadn't seen him in a long, long time, and he was coming home and coming for dinner. And I fixed his favorite, which was spaghetti. And I went to the store and bought all the ingredients like anybody does. All the fresh ingredients from the hamburger, the sauce, the pasta noodles. He likes shredded cheese on his, just cheddar cheese on top. Okay. And so I fixed a nice dinner, and he thought that was great. And I had just finished cooking dinner and was putting things away and putting stuff in the dishwasher and everything when he looked at me and says, "Mom, I don't feel so good." And he didn't look so good. And he was sick all night long. And we narrowed it down, and the next day he was sick and he didn't want anything to eat. And we really did narrow it down to the cheese, the bag of cheese that I purchased at the grocery store. It had never been opened. Shelf date on it was still, correct and everything. I was fine on that. But it just happened that that particular cheese gave him food poisoning. It really did. So that was an experience. I try really hard not to make family or guests sick when they come to see me and are eating, but that was an experience that he's never forgotten, and I haven't either, when it comes to spaghetti and cheese. This recipe, and why I bring up the cheese, is because this recipe is calling for some cheddar cheese. And so it always makes me think of him getting so sick on cheese. Lettuce, cheese, some eggs, all the same thing. You can get pretty sick on them. You really can. I'm going to stop my video for just a minute and check my turkey breast and see why the timer keeps going off. I'll be right back. Back again. Turkey's fine. Not sure about the little meat thermometer. It just likes to go off, I guess. I don't know. Okay, so here is our spaghetti squash. And like I said, I've cooked this a lot. I really like it just like this, that you put butter and salt and pepper, and it's just delicious. It really is. But this recipe calls for a few more things. So we have the skillet right here going. And this particular recipe calls for 3 tablespoons of butter. So I'm just going to use the leftover butter that I have. Get that in here. And it calls for some onion, a yellow onion. I'm going to use the rest of my onion that I had for the turkey. I have a little bad spot on here that I'm just going to cut that right out. We don't need that. here. And we're just going to dice up some onion here and put it right in this skillet with the butter. I said I've never made this au gratin one before. Thought I'd try something different and new. Probably should be doing this tomorrow, but I just didn't want to when I have company. I don't like to be in the kitchen cooking all day, you know, when I have company, unless I absolutely have to. And I haven't decided yet what I'm going to fix for company. Guess that'll be a surprise. Don't know yet. Kind of don't know when they're getting here is the main thing, whether it's going to be lunch, dinner, or just dinner. I don't know. They haven't said, so I don't know. Okay, so that's that part. Clean up as you go, like my mother always told me, clean up as you go. I noticed on my cutting board that my older son, my second older son, gave it to me last Christmas, and I'm noticing in a couple of areas that it's coming apart. This was an expensive cutting board, and I'm not sure why. I have no idea. Okay, and then it calls for 1 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. And you have to kind of watch with the red pepper flakes because they are hot. So I am going to measure this one. Red pepper flakes in there. That'll give it some snap on it. And then it calls for 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. I get these nice jars at Sam's Club. I really like them. They last a long time. Just the garlic powder. And then of course it calls for salt and pepper. So we'll add some salt. And we'll add some pepper. Lots of pepper. We like pepper. Okay. And then it calls for, stir this up. It wants you to cook this just a little bit to get your onions nice and tender. Nice and tender. In this bowl here, we are to add 3/4 cup of sour cream, which I have right here. I'll get a measuring cup, and I like to kind of stir my sour cream around if it's been for a little while. Mine's fine. I'm gonna do, let's see if I've got enough here. The sour cream. A little bit watery in the refrigerator, more than what I would like. I'll put this in here, 3/4 cup sour cream. And then it calls for, and here we go again, that we're going to use the shredded cheese. I found no place on this sack anywhere, and I've looked 3 times. I do not find a date that they've stamped this in any way, shape, or form, that they have stamped this a date on here of an expiration date. So I'm just going to have to go with, hope it's fresh. I really do hope it's fresh. Okay, so they want this in here. Sour cream. That's the recipe. And they want a good cup. Pretty sure it was a cup. Yeah, a cup. I always like to smell everything, make sure it's fresh. Of cheddar cheese. Onions look good. Oh, they smell so good. And we put that in there. Just kind of give this a good mix to Get all that in there. Just a little bit. But it actually says to put it in here. So we will. So we will. Get that all incorporated in here with the onions. That's it. Never made this dish, so I don't know. I have no idea whether I'll even like it, anything. It smells pretty good, I'll tell you that. It really does smell good. I put on my apron so that I wouldn't make a mess all over me, like I usually do all over the counter. This is another one that I have painted myself, that I use the artist palette that's showing the rubber spatula and the rolling pin and the whisk. And then I did pastries down here, and at the bottom I put Art of Simple Cooking, because it is. That's what I like to do, is simple cooking, little recipes that don't take very long. This one, it's not taking very long. Okay, so on this one, your oven needs to be at 375, and you put it in, because I didn't have a very large squash on either one of them, the small one or the other one. You grease a baking dish, and you put all this mixture in here, which I will. Get rid of that. And we'll stick it all in here. Bigger spoon, maybe. Bigger spoon. The gratin, the only thing that I can say is after it bakes and sticks all together, maybe it would look more like a gratin potatoes when you're, a gratin is the cheese. On when you're making scallop potatoes, you put cheese, and it is the old gratin instead of scalloped. And so anytime you add cheese to it, that's what that means. So again, I'm just gonna put it in my casserole dish. Probably even could have gotten a smaller casserole dish. Really could have. If I had had a bigger squash, then this dish would have been fine. But it's all right, it's working. You just have what's in your kitchen to work with, you know? No big deal. Don't sweat it on things. Just gonna be real simple and nice. And then, like I said, we'll add just a little bit more salt and pepper for taste here. And we're gonna stick that in the oven and bake it for 20 to 25 minutes. And then they want you to put it under the broiler of your oven and do that for a good 2 to 3 minutes to kind of brown it. So that is the spaghetti squash au gratin casserole. And I will come back and show you what this looks like after I have baked it, and what my turkey breast looks like after it's out of the oven, because that's my simple little dinner tonight. I don't know, I may fix some rice tonight, maybe a baked potato. I haven't decided yet, but that's going to be dinner tonight. So I hope you've enjoyed my little video of showing you this part of it, and I'll be back to show you the final product. Catch you in just a little while. Okay, I'm back, and everything's out of the oven, and I wanted to kind of show you what it looks like now. This is the spaghetti squash au gratin. This is what it looks like, and I am going to sample that. So I'm going to set it over here a second and take just a little bit out of this to see if I like it, which I'm sure I will. It's just when you've never tried a recipe before for the first time, you know, you want to kind of try it. And then I'm going to check our turkey here. which has smelled, or you know, the aroma in my kitchen. Doesn't smell like Thanksgiving, but it does have a nice smell in here. It really does. Kind of like a roasted chicken smell. That's what it smells like. So I went ahead and put my meat thermometer in here and cooked it for the 160 mark. And that's what I wanted, because I like to know that my turkey is cooked all the way through. And I think I'll just set this over here. Probably a good idea. And then we're going to put it right here on the platter. Get it off of this. It looks good, smells good, and looks good. It's a big boy. 8 pounds is 8 pounds, and that's a nice size. And I have lots of juice in here of what I've done with the water. I have nice gravy juice now that I can make nice gravy, which that's going to be real nice. It really is. Like I said, I made this, cooked it just for having sandwiches. That was my intent for the weekend. But gee, now that I know that I've got the drippings that I can make nice gravy, this will be great. So I'm just going to cut in a little slice here. Just want to taste a little bit. I think husband will be pleased with this meal. I really do. I'm going to try some of that, and I'm going to try the spaghetti squash. I'm real interested in this. You know, that's not too bad. That is not too bad at all. Pardon me. Red pepper. Red peppers get me every time. But it is quite tasty. Very tasty. That's good. I will enjoy this for tonight. And then, like I said, tomorrow, in fact, you know, I may just slice this and have hot turkey sandwiches. Would be nice for my guests. I'm all for that. So a simple little recipe. Go get you one of these turkey breasts, 8 pounds or under, whatever. Roast it the way I did. It's got a very, very tasty flavor. The spaghetti squash gratin is different, but it's very tasty and good. Very, very nice. So I hope you've enjoyed my little video. From my kitchen to yours, go have a wonderful weekend. I plan on going to see the gravesite of where my parents are buried, and that's going to be special on Memorial Day, because that's what it's all about. Not having picnics and doing different things is remembering people, and that's what I'm going to be doing. So like I said, I wish you the best for this weekend, and I'll catch you next time when you never know what's going to come out of my kitchen. Bye-bye now.